Today, I release a piece on Bankless called The Digital Leviathan, and this comes out of Thomas Hobbes' book, The Leviathan, written in the 1600s, which was a cannonball of a piece of literature for its time, right? It was really important for kind of defining politics, defining and it's very much relevant today as it was then, and it was a revolutionary piece, and it was talking about just the overall role of the nation state, right? And the basic. Well, we'll get into it. We're just going to start reading it on, and I define a little bit of it in the article. So I start this article with a quote from Thomas Hobbes, the author. So let's go ahead and get started. The Digital Leviathan. Nature, the art whereby God hath made and governs the world, is by the art of man. And as in many other things, so in this also imitated, that it can make an artificial animal. For by art is created that great Leviathan called a commonwealth or state, or in Latin civitas, but which is but an artificial man through of greater stature and strength than the natural, for whose protection it was intended. Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan. Kind of a hard thing to read. This doesn't really speak the same way I do. And this is the famous illustration of the Leviathan. But in this article, I make the claim that instead of the nation state as the Leviathan, Ether or Ethereum is the Leviathan for this new digital nation that is Ethereum. A metaphysical body. In his famous book Leviathan, Hobbes describes the commonwealth of a nation state as an artificial person, a body politic that mimics the human body, a gigantic human form built out of the bodies of its citizens, with the sovereign leader as its head. The individual constituents of the body of a nation each adds to the social contract that emerges. This strong social contract is the force that keeps the individuals cohered and organized into the holistic body. Importantly, each individual constituent of the body of the Leviathan contributes their own variant or interpretation of the social contract, impacting what the overall composed social contract manifests into. Hobbes argues that this social contract, along with the rule of a single absolute sovereign, was the strongest way to compose a nation. A strong, undivided government is what enforces the rule of the social contract and keeps the body composed and functioning. This became even more true with the advent of democratic republics. The establishment of one person, one vote instantiated the contribution of values that each individual can bring to the health and vitality of the overall body of the nation. Democracy is the vehicle to which the individual can integrate their personal values and ethos codified into the social contract of the nation. These are called laws. Digital Leviathans. We've talked about this before ad nauseum, but Ethereum and Bitcoin are their own nations and each have their own respective Leviathan, duly composed by the code of the protocol and the individuals that use it. These new kinds of Leviathans have made one critical update to Hobbes' theory of the Leviathan: replace the sole sovereign leader with unstoppable, openly verifiable code. All technology enables creative destruction. Bitcoin and Ethereum will subsume the job of the monarch, the prime minister, the president, or the dictator. The role of enforcing the social contract is now replaced by people running their nation's respective software, the unstoppable code. The responsibility of enforcing the code is shattered into a million pieces and handed off to the people. The progress and developments of Leviathans of old have shown that this is desirable by the people that have composed them. Throughout history, Leviathans have discovered mechanisms to formalize and protocolize their social contracts into concrete and well-defined laws. Progress in this endeavor is akin to the establishment of communication and transportation infrastructure of a nation. The more roads and cables that a nation lays, the more holistic and integrated it becomes. Similarly, the more formalized and understandable its social contract is, the easier it is to be followed by the masses. The effort of clearly laying out the rules that govern a nation means that the nation can scale its Leviathan to be a larger and more powerful beast. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the new absolute sovereigns for these new nations. We didn't eliminate the role of president, king, or dictator, we automated it. Not only that, but they also automated a large part of the necessary infrastructure that maintains the cohesion of the body. value, and value management. The physical bodies of people will always compose their nation-state Leviathan, but value is perceived, and nothing is stopping the constituents of a Leviathan from choosing to perceive value from existing outside of the boundaries of the Leviathan that they compose. Leviathans are not composed of people, but rather what those people perceive as valuable. What is the role of government other than to manage value in the ways that we collectively agree? However, if we choose to perceive value outside the body of the nation-state Leviathan and instead inside the body of a digital nation-state, nation Leviathan, the former reduces while the latter expands. Here's a tweet from Ryan. There will be two phases of crypto. In phase 1, we take back our money. In phase 2, we take back our identity. The migration of value from the physical to the digital Leviathans is the foot in the door for these Leviathans to establish themselves as real growing life forms in this universe. If they hold and manage our value, we are incentivized to uphold these systems. As the nation state falls from favor, have you seen the global unanimous distrust and lack of faith in institutions lately? The migration of money is just the first exodus. After we migrate our money, we migrate our identity. You are an organic NFT, and you leave social impressions upon your organic NFT kin. These impressions are already encoded in various different ways: credit scores, Facebook friends, Twitter followers, stream viewers. The manifestation of one's social graph and whether or not one can be vouched for by others can itself migrate from these current systems to their leaderless digital Leviathans. I don't know if you guys think about this, but I think about this all the time. If you go into your wallet and pull out your government issued ID, it expires. That's crazy. Your identity doesn't expire. And I believe that Ethereum will offer a new identity system that is self-sovereign, like all the other things on Ethereum are self-sovereign, identity being one of them. As the digital Leviathans grow in scale and capabilities, it will come at the cost of physical Leviathans. This isn't a zero-sum game. The existence of digital Leviathans is net value generative, but simultaneously, the physical Leviathans have everything to lose, and digital Leviathans have everything to gain. Bitcoin versus Ethereum. It's a nice little picture. Perhaps this perspective provides an answer to why tribalism seems to be an inextricable component of the crypto space. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the president, prime minister, monarch, or dictator of their constituents, and their constituents create their legitimacy and power. Leviathans, nations, survive by accessing and leveraging scarce resources. While the digital landscape available to digital Leviathans is vast and bountiful, it is still limited and finite. At some point, these two digital Leviathans will grow to maturity, and any further growth will have to come at the cost of the other. While these two digital Leviathans generate more total space can still come to be completely saturated. In the Three Nation problem, I discussed how I believe the US Leviathan will subsume its Silicon Valley sector in order to access enough information and power to be able to compete with the Chinese Leviathan. So far, this process has started with conflict, as the 4 leaders of the Silicon Valley nations were summoned to Congress to atone for breaking the social contract. However, I think the nation state will find that it is better off by absorbing Silicon Valley technology rather than expelling it. I see no reason as to why Bitcoin and Ethereum won't become composed together as a more holistic digital Leviathan. These systems can never become one singular body completely. Both protocols must retain their sovereignty to remain legitimate, but inflows of BTC on Ethereum in the last few months illustrate the melding of these two systems into a single greater one. Symbiotic twins. Growing our Leviathan. We are all constituent parts of our respective Leviathans, and we all have a part to play in its growth and health. Leviathans depend on civic engagement and community for optimum development. Gitcoin Grants Round 7 starts in 1 week, by the way. Like infants learning to operate in an unknown environment, Leviathans in development need conversation and community engagement in order to learn about the world in which it resides. The narratives of crypto, P2P, electronic cash, world computer, digital gold, gas, DeFi, these narratives are all conclusions and iterated conclusions about what these Leviathans have learned about their role in the world. These things are discovered through experimentation and failure, how best to operate in order for optimum development and health. These digital leviathans are leaderless. We replaced the sovereign with the protocol. That means there is no one specific human responsible for its existence. Therefore, we are all responsible for the health and growth of these new species as we embody them and they rule over us. The whole point of these systems is that they turn the tragedy of the commons into the festival of the commons. Use and alignment with these digital nations adds value rather than consumes it. They get better with use. However, there are still costs to every action, and as stewards of our own Leviathan, it is your responsibility to ensure that your fellow digital nation citizens are upholding their part of the social contract. Be a good citizen. We have a very young Leviathan on our hands, and it needs our care. For further and more in-depth reading on the subject, please check out this piece. And I actually do encourage this. This is written in 2016, so really early. And I actually wrote the piece that I just read even before I found this one, but this is definitely worth reading if you are interested in this. It's a little bit longer. But the point of this is that, I've been obsessed with this whole digital nations metaphor, right? And the bankless nation is really just a way to corral people into this mental model that there in the future, there's just, and currently there is one single internet nation, right? And now there is an internet money inside this internet nation, like Bitcoin and Ether. And then there will be internet identities likely on Ethereum, because Bitcoin is not expressive enough to do this. But we'll have internet money, and then we'll have internet identity, and then we'll have this internet nation state that we are all building together, right? And so that is the Leviathan that we all compose. And so, if you look closely at these little individuals, you can see your crypto friends, your crypto magic internet friends, all part of the digital Leviathan, right? And, part of why Vitalik's role is so important, and important mechanism designers like Carl Florsch and many others. Mechanism designers are how we generate a protocol that turns the tragedy of the commons into the festival of the commons. And so what Ethereum is one big mechanism that allows for its usage, for people to use Ethereum, that has encoded in it like returning greater value than what you cost the system to use it, right? And so we're reducing the social contract of Ethereum to almost nothing, because what is the social contract is actually baked into a mechanism. We no longer need, and the Leviathan metaphor is he has the sword here. So it's a threat. It's a threat of coercion and violence. And it's a threat of coercion and violence that we give our rights up to the nation state, right? The nation state, it rules by having a monopoly on violence. This isn't my idea. This is something that people have spoken about for a long time, and it's one of the core tenets of the book, The Sovereign Individual, which I highly recommend everyone read. The nation state rules by violence. And Ethereum and Bitcoin, they rule by code. They rule by unstoppable code. They don't need violence, because they have this, instead of having this subjective social contract, they have literal actual contracts, literal code that is unstoppable and is easy to verify, right? And so no longer do we need violence to enforce the people to be together. We have this system through the clever use of mechanism design. And if you don't know what mechanism design, look it up. It's like reverse game theory, right? It's like creating a system that is anti-fragile and redundant even under the most stressful of situations, right? And so no longer do we need violence to coordinate people. Like these nations throughout history, before there was the nation state, there was the religion nation, organized religion, organized Christianity, organized Judaism, organized Islam as the organizing force of the people. And now we have Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it's been hard-coded, and we no longer need to have this interpretation. It's just straight code. And humans have always been finding ways to move away from subjective interpretations and into hard-coded reality. And that's what Bitcoin and Ethereum are. And that's why it gets me so bullish about the Bankless Nation, because the Bankless Nation is this place that everyone understands that there is no social contract, which is itself the social contract, right? Like the social contract is that we use Bitcoin and Ethereum as these coordinating tools, these coordinating infrastructure. And so, that's what gets me so excited about hopefully these decentralized identity alternatives, which are all, I think, are coming. I think we're definitely going to get some on the Bankless podcast. Bright ID is one that I've got my eye on. There are others as well. And I think at Ryan in that tweet is absolutely right. Like maybe the decade of 2010s and then probably also 2020s is getting value into crypto, value onto Ethereum. But the next step is getting our identities. And then we have literally a nation state form, but in the digital world, right? We have the digital Leviathans. We have Bitcoin and Ethereum Leviathans, and it gets me really excited. So thank you for watching. Thank you for reading. Subscribe to the Bankless YouTube, subscribe to the Bankless podcast, subscribe to the Bankless newsletter. There is a ton of gospel coming out about the digital Leviathans that we are all here to grow. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.